Welcome to worship at the McPherson Church of the Brethren. We are an open and affirming congregation that strives to be hospitable and attentive to all of creation. We do not always meet that goal, and we have our share of ups and downs. But in the midst of it all, we continue to listen to God's call on our individual lives and the life of this congregation. We continue to seek to follow Jesus, peacefully, simply, together. We are humbled you have chosen to worship with us. Welcome.
Good morning. It's my honor to be able to welcome each of you, but then I listen to the band and this welcome. I don't really need to welcome you. You know you're already welcome. And to those of you who are joining us online, you're also welcome. One of the traditions which I very much appreciate about this congregation and our denomination is that we not only say welcome officially, we do it personally. Take this time to greet those around you. Welcome. And in true brethren fashion, when you give permission to greet, you can't get them to shut up. One of the other traditions, which I very much appreciate, is that we welcome people who've come that may not be here with us. And I want to take the honor today to introduce my sister and her husband, Jan and Harold Beach, from Cherry Box, Missouri. Anyone else who wants to introduce somebody? Or do you have announcements that we need to share with a wider community?
Good morning, Bonnie Fruth here. I want to encourage you to put a circle around September 17th on your calendar so you can come to the Cedars to hear Brian Hess, Bruce Wagner, and Dan Masterson bring music to the Cedars Village. That occasion is open to the public. It's in your newsletter, but I'm going to remind you again next week because we want you to come. We have wonderful music here, and we want to share it with you and with others in the community. Thank you. 7 o'clock, Tuesday, September 17th, 7 o'clock.
We're going to continue on the music vein here. Becky Snell for choir and bells. Choir starts this Wednesday, and we will be meeting every Wednesday, 6:30. So we've moved up another 15 minutes. And then there has been information going around about bells. There's going to be, so for those who've given me interest, there'll be information coming. If you're in the room today, talk to me. Don't leave without talking to me today if I haven't talked to you already. But yes, the music season is beginning, and it's all exciting. So in choir, let me just say that again. It is for anybody, any level, any skill. I am about make a joyful noise, and it's a great time for fellowship, and we're going to be meeting more consistently. So please come join us.
And as a choir member, you're never sure if it's joyful or noisy, but it's usually both.
No, Becky, I won't be joining choir. You said joyful noise. Mine is just noise. It makes me happy, but I'm sure other people won't like it. I am actually going to offer another joyful celebration. Today is an amazing day. It's the day we celebrate Phyllis Sugart. It's her birthday, Brent's mom. So happy birthday. Celebrate you and your life and your journey with us. Thank you for being present. Happy birthday.
For those of you who couldn't see, Phyllis was shaking her head, no, don't call my attention. Other things that need to be shared. Let us prepare to have our spirits lifted, our minds tweaked, and let us worship together.
Please rise and join me with the opening words and remain standing for the opening song. As we gather, welcome one another in a way worthy of God's people. We have been called to this space to be a community of faith. Then walk with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Lead us, O God, as we strive to walk in a manner worthy of the call. There is one body and one Spirit, one God of all, who is above all and through all and in us all. This is our sacred calling, to welcome one another in a way worthy of God's people. Please join in singing Blessed Be the Tie That Binds, verses 1, 3, and 4. Seated. So today is the day that we're going to reflect on annual conference, the yearly meeting of our of our body of faith. You'll be hearing from Jerry Bowen and myself, JD. You'll also be hearing from Lucy Bowman and Charlotte Lowen as we served as delegates from our congregation. I kind of consider myself an annual conference person. I really have been to a lot. I think the first annual conference name tag that I have actually is when I was like 2.5 months old. And so I went to a lot of annual conferences. Being a preacher's kid, annual conference was actually our summer vacation. So I did that for many, many years. I also, being a little bit of an introvert, even though I don't always seem that way, I like the amount of depth there is of seeing a whole bunch of old acquaintances and talking to them for about 2 minutes and then going away. So that's kind of fun too, because there's a lot of people and you hug them and, oh, I haven't seen you in so long, we should get together, and then I say that again the next time I see them at conference. So I enjoy going to annual conference for many years of my life, and it's part of my Church of the Brethren identity. And then there was a time where I didn't enjoy going to annual conference so much. I actually was a delegate for this body when we first moved back to McPherson, and just kind of not feeling welcome, not feeling comfortable, I guess, is the best thing. A lot of people tried to make others feel welcome, but I just didn't feel comfortable being there at the international meeting. I would say that this year, it was a very wonderful surprise how welcome that I felt and how comfortable I felt around people that were similar to me and people that were different to me, all of us being there together. It was wonderful to see old friends, and the people that I saw weren't just the annual conference people. It was other people as well. The singing, of course, being able to be in a large room and hearing the old traditional singing in the 4-part harmonies that people still do was really soul-filling. And it was really nice to be around others and worshiping with people that worship like we do. It's nice. I always get my cup filled every Sunday coming to service here. But in general, I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but for me, it's kind of been a lonely time to be a Christian like me. Because I'm not a Christian like other people. Other people continually remind me about that. And so it was really nice to be around a lot of people who are Christians like me. And that was very comforting. I'm going to speak specifically about some of the worship services. 2 specific ones really stood out to me and my family. The first one was the opening service with the moderator, Madeline Metzger. I'm a little biased because she's a friend of mine, and so it was kind of surreal to be sitting in that room and be like, wow, I guess we're the age that we can be moderators now. In fact, she spoke about that in a really wonderful way, Madeline being in her 40s and being biracial, being a woman, and also being kind of by faith community. She attends both the Mennonite congregation and a Church of the Brethren congregation. And so she was talking about how unique her perspective is, and that when she was growing up, she would engage with the Church of the Brethren knowing that, her view or her life or her experience maybe isn't the Church of the Brethren, but she had to be on the outskirts to join in with the church. And here she was now the moderator of the Church of the Brethren, and she was able to talk about bringing the perspective that she's bringing, which was so powerful, because I think many of us can feel sometimes that we highlight our differences, and she was embracing those as her strengths and what she could bring to the church. The offering that night went to the host city, which I also thought was wonderful. The Church of the Brethren annual conference motto was welcome and worthy, and how to welcome others. And here we were coming to a different city and giving back to that city in many different ways. So that was quite touching as well. Little brief story about the offering. We don't really pass the plate here in McPherson anymore. We stopped doing that. They did that at the annual conference. They would have ushers come to your tables or to the rows and pass a plate. And I won't actually call out on which child it was, but when they first came to our plate, because our family wasn't used to it here at church anymore, they actually put up their hand and said, "No, thank you." And the wonderful usher just nodded and went to the next person. It was still made us feel welcome through that. I also want to highlight one of the worship services where we heard from Brandon Grady. He's from the Black Rock Church in Pennsylvania. And it was a very impactful sermon for multiple reasons. One of the least of reasons is he was also blind, and so he was able to talk about that difference and that perspective. He also was talking about, similar to Madeline, how we use our gifts and our skills and how each of us are so unique. He infused music into his sermon as well, which was quite goosebump-inducing and chilling for us all. He talked about his background, and the main focus was asking us as a body, what really matters? What really matters for a church? Is it the people, or is it the issues that we're arguing about? And it was, I'm kind of getting emotional about it again. It was a really good service for us all to be sitting in that room with whatever background we come from and talk about how we view our faith, and then be reminded that it's the people and not the issues that we should focus on. And that offering went to discipleship and leadership formation, which was kind of highlighted multiple times through annual conference, because there's a big call for people to step forward. I think what we used to be called spiritual leaders, but I think some people are getting spooked off by that title, leadership, and so now they're just calling for anybody to come forward and help with this church body, because it's a vibrant church waiting to be passed on to others. By Friday's service, my entire family knew how to pass the offering plate, so it was a good, the worship services were instructive, they were soul-filling, and it was a wonderful example of where the church is today.
Please join us in the invitation.
We placed chairs at the table with colorful fabric to represent everyone's beauty and uniqueness.
May we all see one another, hear one another, and listen to one another as we navigate and experience life's sacred and holy encounters. At God's table, all are welcome and worthy.
We created a centerpiece to welcome a spirit of belonging.
We're all worthy to celebrate and hold one another in the light. May Christ's light lead us, direct us, and hold us. At God's table, all are welcome and worthy.
We set the placemats, plates, and silverware with plenty of room for growth.
May each place that we find ourselves allow us room to grow, to learn, to be challenged, and to trust the Holy Spirit to hold us all. At God's table, all are welcome and worthy.
We placed cups at each spot to be vessels of living water.
Living water has the power to transform and to guide. May we embrace the living water that continues to cover us, replenish us, and keep us. At God's table, all are welcome and worthy.
We placed napkins at every seat along with a small gift.
Life can be hard, and sometimes it is messy. May we share and hold one another's stories as we navigate through holy dialogue at the table. May we celebrate and share gratitude for the space we all share. At God's table, all are welcome and worthy.
Hi, everyone. So I was asked to talk about my experience at annual conference from the perspective of being a youth delegate. So I'm just going to share some of my favorite things and just go over what the experience was like for me. So I'm not an annual conference person like my dad, and it was our vacation this summer, which would not recommend, but I did have fun at the gathering. First of all, the location was beautiful. Between all of the sessions, when we'd have breaks, we'd get to go out and walk around the city and explore, like the neighborhood around where the conference was actually located, and it was wonderful. There were so many things to do and so many amazing restaurants. The food was great. I also loved being surrounded by so many people in the Brethren community. It was so nice. Everyone was so welcoming. It was awesome to meet people from different places, even different countries, and hear about the traditions that their churches have and how they celebrate and come together to worship. So that was really interesting. And at my table, we had lots of different people. We had an ambassador from the Haitian church in Florida. We had people from the East Coast. And there was me from Kansas. So I got to hear a lot about different Brethren perspectives, which was really eye-opening to how diverse our church is, and but still how we can come together and celebrate something. I also really enjoyed some of the topics in the business sessions. Overall, they were a bit boring, but it was lovely to see how united the church was on issues like supporting the Standing with People of Color Committee, On Earth Peace, and a lot of the other Brethren organizations. When they would come and present their ideas and ask for more time or more resources, it was just people voting yes all over the room. And so it was awesome to see how united the church really is on issues. And I know Charlotte's going to talk more about some of the business that we actually covered. So that was awesome. So my experience, really my takeaway was just getting to see so many people with a shared goal and shared values, getting to meet so many people from different experiences and different backgrounds, getting to make new friends, not my age because there was no one else there my age, but lots of different friends. One of the guys at my table even took a picture of me, just me, not with him. I don't know what he's gonna do with it, but it was nice to meet him too. So I would recommend going to annual conference and serving as a delegate because I think it's a way to connect with our larger community and especially unite over issues that all of our different churches are facing. When we would talk about how we can work towards growth, it was just really helpful to see how a lot of churches are struggling with similar things that we are, like getting youth and young members to come to services and to get involved in leadership. And so it was nice to see that it's not just us and that within our larger community, there are people working to help strengthen it and to work towards this growth. So that was my takeaway. Oh, also, will the children please come forward for the children's story?
Hello. Okay, so they've been talking about annual conference, which is kind of like a big meeting, okay? So, have you guys ever been to a meeting before? Yep. Do you have meetings at school? Do you have morning meetings at school? Yeah, I hope so, right? Think about it in the mornings when you first come in and you share some things. Do you ever have family meetings? When you talk about things as a family, yeah, we used to do that every once in a while. The kids didn't think it was the greatest thing in the world, but I thought it was pretty good. And our 4-Hers aren't here, but I was going to ask about 4-Hers meetings, because I know they had some of those. So what kinds of things, like in your morning meetings at school, what do you do? Sometimes you read a story, maybe. Sometimes do you do, tell me something good? No? Okay, well, we did that at Roosevelt. It was kind of fun. So meetings can be good. As your sister said, sometimes they can be a little bit boring, okay? But we can learn a lot from meetings. In your meetings, did everybody always agree in your family with what to do, or at school with what to do? No, we don't always agree, but somehow we have to make it work, don't we? So I kind of thought about meetings as a puzzle, okay? And in that meeting, I thought, well, you know, we are all puzzle pieces. Somehow I had that open. Slide it out, okay? So I made a puzzle, and in my puzzle, I have all kinds of pieces. See, I can take them apart like you do with the puzzle, okay? Now, in your family meeting, like you can be this person, and you can be this person, and you can be this person. You want a blue? Blue? How about multicolored? Okay? So, we're going to talk about something, and maybe we don't always agree. And is that okay, not always to agree? But somehow we have to figure out a way to make this puzzle come back together so it looks beautiful. That may mean we have to give a little bit, take a little bit, so we all work together, okay? That's the same thing as annual conference, okay? Did you know that there are churches of the Brethren all over the United States? Not just McPherson? Yeah. And there's also some in other countries in the world. So when we come to annual conference, or to the big meeting they used to call it, okay, everybody's different. Everybody has a different opinion. And they talk about things. They talk about things like how to be peacemakers, how to make people and our earth safe, okay? So they're not always going to agree. Just like in your families, you don't always agree. But you sit at the table and you work it out. So in the end, your puzzle pieces, you want to put your puzzle piece back in there, see if you can fit it in? Where is it going to go? You want to come over and put your puzzle pieces in? So in the end, all of your puzzle pieces, I'll slide it over this way, are going to fit. Okay? And you know what? We still may not totally agree with everybody and the decisions they made at that meeting, but somehow we fit them all together. Okay? So I think it would be interesting for you guys today to listen to a little bit of the speakers and listen to see how, especially like when Charlotte talks about the business part of it, because people there did not always agree. But somehow we have to make the puzzles fit so that we are followers of God. Okay? I have a puzzle for you guys that you can make your own. Okay? When I did mine, I did it with permanent marker because I think that's going to work the best. Okay? I didn't try colored pencils. They might work okay too, but I think permanent markers are going to be the best. Okay? So, as you create your puzzle, I want you to think about pieces of your family and how they're all going to fit together to make a beautiful picture. All right? See you guys next week.
Good morning. We come to the table in different ways. Annual conference delegates are assigned to tables for discussion and voting on various business items. I have Pastor Jerry's permission to tell the following table story. Many of you may not know I have some hearing loss. I was asked to be a table facilitator for the business sessions, and I questioned whether or not I could really hear well enough to do it. Then, somewhere along the way, I misheard that Jerry was going to be a delegate and a table facilitator. And I thought, well, I guess I better do it because I think Jerry's even deafer than I am. And so it actually turned out fine for me, and it was JD, not Jerry, that was the table facilitator. As someone who has been to several annual conferences, I felt the overall tone of the business sessions was more hopeful with less tension than in previous years. Besides receiving reports from various annual conference agencies, we heard several interim reports from study committees whose work is not yet completed around such issues as how to increase access to annual conference and ways to promote nominations for various positions. Lucy mentioned the committee Standing with People of Color, which is developing resources that may be used throughout the denomination. This committee is to present a final report next year, but one resource that was developed by On Earth Peace was distributed at the 2024 conference. This is a discussion guide about justice and racism that may be used in various settings. It really looks good. See me after church if you want a copy, or you may go to the On Earth Peace website, click on projects, and follow the prompts to get the guide off the internet. Another significant business item was preparing for the appointment of the Review and Evaluation Committee in 2025. This is a 5-person committee, but it has a very big job. They meet every 10 years to look at denominational structure and programming, and they will have up to 4 years this time around to conduct their work and make recommendations for any changes. Nominations are currently being accepted for this committee and various other annual conference positions and committees. If you want to nominate someone, go to the brethren.org website and follow the nominations links, and they always need more nominations. I want to conclude by mentioning the business item that really spoke to me, and that has to do with a query from the Haitian Church of the Brethren through the Atlantic Southeast District. This is a very large Haitian church. They raised issues around how to continue to grow as a multicultural denomination, while at the same time sitting with the tensions around biblical authority and human sexuality that tend to be more likely to arise within these multicultural churches. The query asked the question as to whether or not a different kind of denominational structure might be helpful to manage some of these theological differences, and this query will be addressed by the Review and Evaluation Committee. In our culture of polarization, the Church of the Brethren, with its theological roots in both Anabaptism and Pietism, has a unique opportunity, I believe, to be a powerful witness around how to handle theological tensions and still stay together around the table, if we would only embrace this. I once heard Wendy McFadden, the editor of the denominational magazine The Messenger, say, and I quote, "In the Church of the Brethren, right relationship is right doctrine," unquote. Think about that. Right relationship is right doctrine. How do we promote those relationships around the table with our denominational friends? This church has a special relationship with the Haitian Brethren because of the Haiti Water Project. Is there a way for us to further promote connection with the Haitian church with no theological agenda apart from fostering relationships with our friends in Christ? I personally hope that we as a congregation can really think about this and have further discussion about how best to go about making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you for your continued financial donations. You may give online at macbrethren.org. That's maccobb@macbrethren.org. If you are worshiping with us in person, you may place your gift in the offering box at the back of the sanctuary. Just slip it through the slot in the top of the box. Or you may mail your gift to the church office at 200 North Carey Street, McPherson, Kansas 67460. Or hand deliver your check to the church office. Just push it through the mail slot at the Education Building. If you join our worship from afar, please donate to local needs in your area. Thank you for sharing.
Our scripture focus this morning comes from Paul's letter to the Romans, Romans 16, 1 through 4. A little background to this section of Romans. It's Paul's farewell letter to the folks that he's worked with, but it's more than a farewell letter to those persons in the church. It's a call for all of us to recognize and to name and to honor those who work hard. This section, by the way, for all those who don't believe women should be in ministry, the Apostle Paul makes it very clear from the beginning, women should be in ministry. And this points to that reality. Romans 16, 1 through 4. I commend to you our sister Phoebe, a deacon of the church in Cenchrea. I ask you to receive her in the Lord in a way worthy of the people, and to give her any help she may need from you, for she has been the benefactor of many people, including me. Greet Priscilla and Aquila, my co-workers in Christ Jesus. They risked their lives for me. Not only I, but all the churches of the Gentiles are grateful to them. Again, a document 2,000 years old has made it very clear that women from the beginning should be leading churches. And I think for me, that's what we saw at annual conference. We saw a shifting in leadership. We saw an inclusive move towards old white guys like myself stepping back and taking other roles and letting people who've often not had opportunities to lead to step into the spotlight and take the mantle and to lead us in new ways. That reality for me is why I have hope. The speakers were amazing. The only white guy I remember speaking dressed up in a costume like Superman, in my memory, like serving correctly, and he was a youth pastor and he was funny. But I don't remember much of what he said other than the fact that his costume was really like sort of drawing my attention. Madeline, phenomenal. Brandon, who is a colleague of mine and a peer of mine at Bethany, and a little story about Brandon. If you need to know whether or not what he preached about was authentic and real, a week prior to annual conference, he called our office because he heard that I was the worship leader on Sunday morning. He called our office to intentionally get my number so that he could text me in the middle of all the chaos of him preparing to preach at annual conference. And he was at lunch with one of his parishioners. And he said, make sure Jerry calls me back. All right. So I call him back, and he's like, Jerry, I'm at lunch. I said, well, Brandon, no. We want to stop and pray for you right now. I want that to sit with us for a moment. In the midst of all the chaos, Brandon, who talks about the importance of people, in the midst of his chaotic existence and honoring his ministry, he and his person that he was having lunch with stopped and prayed for me as I prepared to be a worship leader, which, by the way, is not nearly as stressful as preaching at annual conference. And yet, Brandon's love just flows through him. Another part that you might need to know about Brandon, yes, he's blind, as J.D. highlighted, but in seminary, if you were creating worship, and that was part of the task of graduating, you had to sort of lead a worship. Brandon was the constant music director. You had to give him the music a week ahead of time because he would memorize every element of it. Totally. Every week he was memorizing a new piece of music from start to finish so he could lead it. He's a phenomenal human being. I love him. But it was those pieces, and I'll make it quick because I know others have spoken more about the importance of it. And my blessing is I get to talk about where the church, I think, is headed. Annual conference, smallest numbers I've seen probably in years. For those that went, would you agree that attendance was low? And it feels like it's getting to a point of a critical mass, like what do we do? And I think that's why all those questions are being raised. I see it entirely different. I see it as a chance to return. And I think that this year's conference was so full of hope because we're recognizing the importance of relationships and one another, and the only way forward is together. The only way forward is to link our stories, regardless of how different and divergent they might be, to one another and move forward. Were there a group of pastors I met with that some of you know that need to find a new calling possibly? Yes, I would agree that there are some of those that need to rethink their calling because they're, in my words, standing in the way of where God is calling us. But they are a small grouping of people now. The rest of us are like, look, we're tired of focused on issues. We want to focus on people and ministry and move forward. That's what we're called to do. And that gives me hope. That gives me energy. That gives me excitement. But unlike Lucy was not the only 16-year-old there, by the way. She just happened to be the responsible one. Caden, Friesen, and Daniel and Raina went with us. And this wasn't necessarily our vacation, but it felt that way for them. And one of my great joys, I remember taking Daniel and Raina specifically to the first annual conference. And Raina reluctantly went to the kid activities. She's like, I don't know. And Raina's introverted, and groups make her anxious, and we're like, you're going to be okay. You know, we're right here. And it happened to have been in Ohio the first time, and so I knew the people that are leading it. I said, you're going to be good, you're going to be fine. And so she reluctantly went. This year, there was no hesitation. She's like, I'll see you when we're done. And Daniel and Caden have sort of collected themselves around other high school students through CCS and other things. And we saw them in the morning, and we saw them when they got back at night. And that's what, as a parent, that's what I see as the future of our church, is these relationships that are being forged through these shared journeys. And wow, what an awesome thing. It ended, and Caden looked at us, and he goes, can I go with you guys next year? Yeah, that's fine, but it's in Greensboro, North Carolina, and that's not a that's not like a 7 to 10 hour drive. That's like a 20-hour drive. So we may have to rethink this. And then Raina says, well, can I bring a friend too? I think we're going to end up saying yes. And so next year is in Greensboro. Please find a way to make it as part of your summer journey. And then after that, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne, Indiana. And for Kendra and myself, that's going to feel a little bit like homecoming. We spent 3 years in Richmond. Kendra took classes in Muncie, and we went to Fort Wayne a couple times for other things. So it's going to feel like a little bit of a returning home. We can't wait for that. I'll end again with a call to all of you. Annual conference is about minutes. About business meetings. It is. But for those that went, what percentage of business was part of our gathering? Right? And even more so of like the struggling, the hard business was even smaller. Like most of the reports about what's going on, how the denomination's doing great things, and hearing about the Ministry Mission Board, and hearing about, the Nigerian church, and hearing about how we're doing these collective things. There's a small percentage of true, hard discussions. The rest is about celebrating one another. So if you're on the fence about whether or not to go, and I'm going to put on my gifts assessment hat, Marty, when we call and say, would you consider this? Please just say, yes, I will consider it. I will let you know. Seriously go into prayer and discern whether or not next summer you can begin to write your story as an annual conference attendee, delegate, etc. And I promise we won't make you just sit and do business. You can enjoy it too. All right? Lucy's shaking her head, giving me the look that I get often. Sorry, Lucy. Thank you for letting us go and be a part of the story. Thank you. Now, will you please rise for our sending song?
And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. May our love be genuine, not fake, not lukewarm, not a mere attempt at friendliness. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. For this is Christ's very command: love one another as I have loved you. May our love be genuine. We belong to one another, the diverse body of Christ. We gather with unique gifts, experiences, and voices. We have much to offer one another. But the greatest of these is love. Please be seated for the sending music.